the only. Who are we kidding? If Raw can't be asked to make an interesting show, we can't be asked to make an interesting opening. This is Whacked Out Wrestling. Hello, everybody. This is Whacked Out Wrestling for this week, and I'm Thomas S.K. Green. With me is John Roche, and we're waiting on Joey the Caveman, but until then, we also have a guest in the OG, Prince Moxley Lopez.
So,
and as you noticed, the big problem on this one is Raw. What the hell? I've heard a lot of people saying that this episode of Raw was the worst episode of Raw in history. I've had people saying that Raw is as bad as WCW in 2000. And let me just say right now, if this is a hot take, no. Raw was not as bad as WCW in 2000. It was worse. It is WCW in 1999.
Damn.
And you're saying that no hyperbole? Like you're...
No hyperbole. And it may seem bad because of these ones, but there is a big difference between those two shows. WCW in 2000, the height of the Vince Russo era, was unwatchable shows. They were terrible. They were worthless. But at least you can watch those shows and laugh at them. It's like the room of pro wrestling. That's not a bad thing on it. Just watch it and laugh at how bad it is. But WCW 1999, on the other hand, that was when every fan had truly realized, nope, it's an Indian caste system. If you're a fan of a mid-carder, they're going to be a mid-carder for life. You're a fan of a low-carder, they're going to be a low-carder for life. There's no changing your place on the roster. And everybody had seen every single match from everybody in the caste system over and over and over again. And it wasn't a bad show. It was just so boring. There was nothing new under the sun, and they just didn't want to give you anything new under the sun.
So it was like the modern Simpsons of wrestling.
Basically.
Hey. Like, let's draw a line of, like, you can't, as bad as modern Simpsons are, like, come on now. Like, there's bad, and then there's, like, Raw this Monday. Like, come on.
Raw was the Jack and Jill of professional wrestling.
No, even Jack and Jill was a little bit better than this one because Jack and Jill fell under it's bad, but you can at least watch it and laugh at it. There's a difference between, say, Jack and Jill and a completely boring movie. It's not particularly funny. It's not particularly good. This was the Brady Bunch movie of pro wrestling. You can't
even then. I'm like, I'm trying to find out ways to like defend the Brady Bunch movie against this episode of Raw.
You see what you've done, Vince McMahon?
Yes.
Like, I'm trying to figure out ways to defend the Brady Bunch movie against what you gave us Monday. Do you see where we are on how bad of a show that was?
Yeah.
And I'll take it a step further than what you were saying on the echelon, the tiers. Like, even your upper main event, like, you know, your lower card, your mid card, even your upper main event scene is complete disaster.
And it's not even the fact that it's a complete disaster on this one, where I was willing to accept the fact that it's basically a bunch of authority figure bullshit that goes on for it, because this show would have been perfectly fine if it was just Baron Corbin is going insane with power and thinks he's already won the general manager position, and so he's making everyone's life a living hell. If you knew Braun Strowman was healthy for TLC, if you knew that Strowman was healthy for TLC, this show's completely fine, because that's the type of show you can accept if you know, okay, the heel getting their comeuppance is imminent. with that one, you could perfectly accept this because you'd know, okay, so Corbin's being an asshole. Corbin's making this show bad, but it's okay because Strowman's going to kick his ass, and then Corbin will have no power. So
yeah, Corbin taking advantage of his arch nemesis not being there that night and just running roughshod.
Yeah, but that's the type of thing you can do if you know for a fact that Strowman's healthy for TLC and Corbin's going to get his comeuppance and you won't have to deal with it anymore. But even then, it doesn't explain some of them. Like even the good matches on it. You have Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins putting on another very good match this week, like they have all year. But that's the key word. All
year.
And that's the problem because the open challenge thing, John Cena got it for this one. When he instituted the U.S. title open challenge, he made it clear, okay, I want to work with everybody on the card. Some upper card, mid card, lower carder. Hell, throw me against some NXT guys. I'll put them in. I'll work a great match with them, and I'll make them look like $1 million, and they'll look better because they looked like $1 million against John Cena. That's how the open challenge is supposed to go. We don't need to see Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins again for that match. Give us someone different for it, even if it's not a good match. Heck, Mojo Rawley was perfectly fine in that role because, hell, you get to see if Mojo Rawley has anything. See what the guy can do. That's perfectly normal. It may not.
Tyler Breeze would have worked.
Yeah. And just, it doesn't even have to be someone good in this one. Just give us something we haven't seen before.
Right.
That's really the big problem. Same thing with the main event. Yes, Corbin and Finn Balor can put on a good match together. But we've seen that match for a year now. We need something new. Give us something we haven't seen. Doesn't even have to be good or bad, just new.
Different. Just different.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking for, something different.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'd rather see a bad match that I haven't seen before than a good match that I've seen 100 times already. Same reason that it's WCW 99. Yes, the Luchadors put on great matches, but you can only see Rey Mysterio give a Hurricane Rana to Psychosis so many times before. Meh.
It really let the wind out of my sails, like it wasn't already headed that, that direction. Because there on social media when Seth tweeted, tomorrow, I've got Dean on my mind. I'm paraphrasing here, but Dean on my mind, but I'm gonna start the IC or restart the IC Open Challenge and open to anybody and all these wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm free, me, all kinds of responses, like anybody, and I'd be damn if Dolph Ziggler didn't answer that. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, put Mustafa Ali, like anybody, except for the same feud we just spent all summer going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really the thing on it because, again, John Cena U.S. Open Challenge, if someone like Mustafa Ali said, I'm a game, say, fine, let's go. And do it. And that's what you want to see from these things. You don't want to see the same old shit over and over again. And that's really the biggest problem. It's not that it's a bad match. Dolph Ziggler's revitalized himself this year and put on great matches in the top, but it's the same shit we've seen over and over.
Right. And that's where the repetitiveness outweighs the match quality.
Yeah. And that's a difference that we've seen on SmackDown that made it fresh on it, where you have on SmackDown, all you need is there's a slight Twitter battle. Someone's got some beef with someone for one thing. Okay, that's a match on Tuesday. Good, done. So I'd say pass the cocaine, but we're not making Paige jokes here. Yes.
Damn, dude, damn.
Yes. But that's really all you need for it. And that really made the SmackDown early thing happen where you had Paige say, okay, it's going to be Charlotte and Becky Lynch. They're going to get a title shot. Then every other woman on the roster said, wait a second. Why do they always get the title shots? Paige said,
wait a minute.
Works for me. Battle Royal tonight. Winner gets into the match too.
Did we go like Kevin Bacon there for a second of 6 degrees of John Cena's U.S. Open challenge? I'm not going to go through all 6 degrees. I'll abbreviate it.
We're going to segue into SmackDown at some point.
Well, it all works on these ones because it all does play a role into these ones. So,
well, just briefly, like John Cena's Open Challenge was finally defeated by Alberto Del Rio and Del Rio Page. Like it all just kind of like loops back to.
Yes, but that's slightly different on that one.
Yeah,
because you're going with that 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, you're going to Raw was really boring to Alberto Del Rio. Actually, I think that's just 1 degree, but still.
You went from boring to even more boring.
Yes. But even from a show like this, you have some positives for it. And that's why we have a special song of the week while we're waiting for Joey on this one. And I'm just getting to that one. And this is in honor of the one important thing that happened. A song going out to a very special person.
See, roll around, sitting on doves, can't lie, I was high on drugs, cooling in my Escalade. Man, I'm paid, I got it made. Take me to your special place. Close your eyes, show me your face. I'm gonna kiss on it. I don't even know. None of the above, I want to piss on you. Rock me on you. Take your body, it's a water party, and I'll be your kid. I'll be on you. It's on you, it's on you. I feel quite the same when you get a whip of my Hershey stains. I want to pee in your food. Only thing to make my life complete when I turn your face to a toilet seat. I want to pee on you. Yes, I do. I pee on you, I piss on you. Haters wanna hate, lovers wanna love. I don't even want none of the above. I want to piss on you. Yes, I do. I piss on you. I pee on you. Won't you braid my hair? Won't you braid my hair? So small, I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna fall on you.
That was a song of the week, which was dedicated to Drake Maverick in the ultimate Vince was amused storyline from this week. And seriously, that's where you go with this one. You have the biggest monsters group in NXT, and within 6 months, they're in a storyline about their opponent, their manager peeing his pants.
That's something else.
Mm-hmm. And from this one, you had a match between Chad Gable and Bobby Roode versus the AOP, which was ended as Drake Maverick peed on Bobby Roode's robe.
But he's a big boy now. He knows where the toilet is.
Yes, but that would have its own problems on it, where on the one hand, I don't see why people are this angry for it. May I remind everyone, Rockstar Spud lost to a 1-year-old in TNA. It was on the show. It's out there. He jobbed clean to King Maxwell. This is the guy you're saying, but he can't do this angle. He's being wasted. This guy, due to loss to a 1-year-old, that guy's too good for being in an angle like this.
Can I have a minute to explain? Because now this is the fourth time in 2 days. Mm-hmm. Rockstar Spud, Drake Maverick. He is comedy.
Mm-hmm.
What bothers me and what has actually happened in this scenario is by doing this comedy stuff, you're by default tethering AOP to it.
Yeah.
Well, at least there's positives for this angle, because if this angle is a trademark Vince was amused angle, let the record show one of the men in the AOP's first name is Yazim, which is, of course, spelled Gzim. Do the math on what it would look like.
Oh, no. No.
So all you have to do is have the AOP member, who's played by the wrestler Sonny DeHinsa, have a gimmick where he poops his pants, and then Vince can have his dream tag team of milk, lemonade, round the corner fudge is made.
Good Lord.
And then it also transfers to Drake is still the GM of 205 Live.
Mm-hmm.
But just in this instance, yes, Rockstar Spud, Drake Maverick, he's committed gold. But once you, for quote unquote, the monsters of NXT coming to Raw, now that they're attached at the hip, you just legit, now AOP. How the hell do you win a match off a distraction from somebody peeing on somebody else's clothes?
Well, it's just like
have credibility.
Modern day jungle. Clearly, Maverick had to pee on his robe to establish dominance.
And I get what you're saying, and I'm not that mad about it, but I mean, it's just
ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so. Yeah, it's ridiculous, and there's no outside of, no pun intended, on and I'm going to use 2 puns in one sentence. Outside of toilet humor, you're also flushing down the AOP's progression at the same time.
Exactly.
Well, at the same time, there is some things I'll give as a benefit for this, where on the one hand, you have, even on 205 Live now, you've got cruiserweights dunking on Drake Maverick for peeing his pants at Survivor Series, which is the first one, because the storyline where Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali tried to say, "Why are you with the AOP?" and Maverick simply said, "Don't question me about what I do on Mondays," basically saying they were separate, was a bit of a problem. And this is something that you have to have as well, because you also now, in the difference since that happened, have the X factor of the Lucha House Party are now in the Raw Tag Team division, which was eventually going to be a problem where you're going to eventually have to go deal with. On 205 Live, there's some happy baby faces who presumably are well liked by Drake Maverick on 205 Live, but on Raw, suddenly the Lucha House Party are fighting the Authors of Pain, and Drake Maverick is evil and hates them. So you have to have.
By now, anybody on 205 Live that doesn't make Drake Maverick piss his pants, he's good with.
Yeah.
He's happy for them to be around.
Yeah.
And John said it's ridiculous. It just really it's so, and it didn't help that the original at Survivor Series Ping of the Pants was botched, and apparently he really, since the device didn't work, he like really peed his pants, and because Big Show held him up by his neck for so long, like we're like, what's happening here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's a little dribble.
Yeah.
Like it's just been that should have been a sign like abandoned ship, and they've just like steered into the
skid mark.
Yeah, and just like let Drake do Drake things, but now that you're in, you can't help but again, tether or correlate Drake with AOP, and now your WWE Tag Team Champions. These monsters are related to a comedic act.
Yeah, and that still does tie to the question mark, because even with the Lucha House Party example before, with the fact that the Lucha House Party have been beating the Revival in 3-on-2 matches for the last few weeks on it, it seems pretty likely that the Lucha House Party will be the next feud for the AOP. And so eventually you're going to have to cross that bridge of there are 205 Live tag teams, so it's both of Drake Maverick's storylines coinciding in one place.
Yeah. I mean, the ship can be righted. It hasn't been so wrong that you can't come out of it, but can we come out of it pretty quick, please? For my sake.
Problem on this one, where eventually this is why they needed some legends alive on it, because ideally the happy ending would be John Cena returns and shows people that he pees pants too, and Drake Maverick's fine, which would lead
I'm the Miles Davis of peeing pants.
Well, that's why Mae Young had to be alive for it.
If peeing pants are cool, then I'm the Miles Davis.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's why we need a crazy old lady running around.
Well, I'm going to email Stephanie right away and tell her that you just called her a crazy old lady.
Well, if Lars Sullivan can say he fapped to videos of her and have his push continue, then I think that might get me a job with WWE.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Yes. And that ties to the same problem on this one, where with this Ringside News issues about Lars Sullivan once being a troll, it just says the same problem. If you've got Lars Sullivan, who was a racist fuckhead for years, including 2 months before his WWE signing, and I'm on that dude's side, you fucked up, Ringside News. That went past, okay, they're trying to develop a feud on this one, and they're trying to get this guy brought to light, and went past, okay, you're laying it on a little hard, and went past, did you hold on to this for 5 years as the silver bullet when Lars Sullivan got promoted, and went straight to, someone at Ringside News has a vendetta against this dude. There is no way around it. The guy behind Ringside News had to have been on the bodybuilding.com forums and had to have a vendetta against Lars Sullivan, and he's just trying to end his career because he's mad about something on that forum, which, since it's bodybuilding forum, probably means about games.
My theory on that is the reporter for Ringside News is friends with the person that has a vendetta that was actually on the bodybuilding website from years ago, and like I agree with everything else you say. I don't know if it's particularly somebody on Ringside News or like a close friend, and because this would at social media today, this would have come out a long time ago.
Yeah, well,
and this happened after the very first vignette of Lars is coming to the main roster, and it's just a repeated, like more and more and more and more, like and you see on Twitter and stuff like, okay, the people have, and vendetta's the right word, like they don't, like nope, we're gonna keep pushing this and pushing this, you know, like look at me, look at us, look at what happened, kind of thing.
Yeah, and honestly, there is the problem where since then Ringside News has been grasping at straws and going after the AJ Styles hates gay people, you guys, and yeah, we knew that. Part of the AJ Styles experience is we know this dude's a homophobe. We're good with that. We've known that for 18 years. We can move on from that.
The gay community.
Yes. Yeah, so that's not something new on this one. And it's worse on this one because even during this one, during my other stuff on this one, apparently the person who's been leaking the info got in touch with me on this and has kept going. But the problem is that if you're doing this for Lars Sullivan, it cannot be stressed enough. WWE does not give a flying fuck about these things. We've known that since 2015. Not after just the Hulk Hogan got fired for his racist tirade thing, but that 6-week period in WWE around July and August where within 6 weeks, Jessica Havoc went from, she's a star prospect at the WWE tryouts in July, and she's pretty much guaranteed she's going to get a contract offer, to the tweets she made in the past came out and she became radioactive and could not be hired by them. And that went through. That went through to the developmental performer Zara Schreiber, got her development deal ended because she was found with some unsavory tweets in the past as well. And then went straight to the Aaliyah having heard some bad tweets she had made at the time, also revealed and said, okay, that's the line. We're not doing this anymore because we at WWE know you fans want your favorite to be a star and only your favorite. So you're going to just keep milkshake ducking everybody on our roster until we have to fire everybody and your favorite gets the conch shell. Until someone else who's mad that their favorite isn't milkshake ducks your favorite. So you know what? The line is being drawn here.
And it's pretty obvious by now that line moves.
Mm-hmm.
Like based on what they want to do and not just what was said, but where, and just to be honest, you know, where they think they can make a buck. Like the line gets moved of there's been less worse things said that got somebody future endeavored into more bad things said that, oh, we'll allow it.
Yeah. And even that, if this year you had stuff like, for instance, Apollo Crews and Ty Dillinger both had some tweets brought to light, and absolutely nothing happened to either guy. They apologized, everyone moved forward, nothing happened to them, because that's what WWE does for it. And likewise, even if you're just going to say, okay, we're going to do this and keep going for him, with the example of, for instance, AJ Styles, we all knew about his stuff on it. Meanwhile, Brock Lesnar put in a ESPN.com article, in quotes, I don't like gay people, and no one had a problem with that.
Yeah. They're notorious for, and I don't want to use the word right in a agreement kind of thing, but they know the right eye to bat.
Yeah.
We're going to bat this eye, but we're not going to bat this eye.
Yeah. And that's really another thing on it where it
just
also...
a few months ago, the Randy Orton thing. Mm-hmm. If that was anybody else except for Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Remember a few years ago, they wound up giving him the title, even though he had 2 wellness strikes. So
yeah.
But even then, they also had the fact they made the Orton clause in the wellness.
Yeah, I was about to say, we literally have a Randy Orton clause because of Randy Orton.
Yep.
And what is that clause specifically?
The clause basically means that if you have 2 wellness strikes on your record, you can go to a special program the WWE will allow that takes about a year to do. And if you finish the program in that year, they'll wipe 1 strike off your record, and it'll be like you have 1 violation.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much the overall is what SK just said, but they, depending on who and where and what, like it's even the word, basically just the exception. Like we'll make this exception if you do this, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and
they'll also, for double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all.
Yeah, and we see it on these ones as well, because we saw that earlier this year that Jeff Hardy had a DUI before he could finish up the 1 year to get into the Randy Orton clause after his 2 violations in the past. And he's at the level where they can have a big celebration for 20 years of Jeff Hardy this week on SmackDown. And that just, I'm not sure why that worked on this one, because, yeah, you have Jeff Hardy for 20 years, but why would you have the whole roster out there to celebrate for it? Just seems like, is this similar to back in the old days of pro basketball, where they'd celebrate with a star of the team night, where they just laud the star and give him a bunch of presents for just being there, only the star's still active? And just knowing if that happened today and someone said, okay, we're doing a LeBron James night here on this one, LeBron would be mortified. And that dude's such a fame whore. It takes a lot to get that dude mortified.
Yeah. And before I give my response, first, fuck LeBron James. Second, yeah, that was so weird. And it seemed, because back in the day, it was different than, like, if you're going to acknowledge somebody like they did Jeff on Tuesday, like it used to be, and we're like predating Raw, or like it was a kudos kind of thing. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
Not like we're going to do all this to get a Samoa Joe storyline out of it.
Yeah, and that's one, if they did it for a Samoa Joe storyline, it worked, but even then, it just seemed kind of random that you just honored the party for no apparent reason.
Well, yeah, again, I sometimes don't word good, but like it used to mean something of, hey, a true thank you. And this was a thank you, but this was like all just kayfabe, future kayfabe.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this so this happens. Which, I mean, it works. It's wrestling. It's professional wrestling.
Yeah, plus, if you're going to honor somebody on this one, Jeff Hardy's someone you have to honor. He had so many things of honoring people who could do a really nice high-flying move, honoring people who seemed like the Marty Jannetty of their team ending up being the world champion before the Shawn Michaels, getting fat goth girls into pro wrestling, and other things that were worthy of.
Oh, damn, dude, damn. Oh, my damn.
Well, I mean, if there's one thing that we can learn from Jeff Hardy, it's that it's better to burn out than to fade away and classify myself as obsolete.
Hallelujah.
Oh, I was half expecting, like, because I don't put anything past them anymore. And I always try having that, my kid sense of, like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I was half expecting, when everybody was on the stage and Matt was, with his pictures in the ring and whatnot, I was half expecting Matt to come out and, hug or whatever and usher Jeff away, more not in a retirement kind of way, but more in the Impact TNA version of you need to be reincarnated, and then we'd see another House of Hardy.
Well, I think that there's apparently saying the House of Hardy stuff will get its own series, which is a good thing because ever since the TNA version, I've just been waiting for that House Hardy Christmas special. And I think
and that's what I thought they were. And this was the perfect time. Shit, it's it's after or Thanksgiving, Christmas. Like it was the perfect time for. And Matt hasn't been on screen for a while. Apparently, he's been producing and stuff, which is great for Matt. Kudos.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, okay, Matt's gonna come out. Let Jeff get his hurrah, and then next time we see Matt, Matt and Jeff, they're gonna be House of Hardys, and apparently Matt's not gonna be able to go anymore. Jeff shouldn't go for a while, but he needs rest, and I was just hoping that was kind of like a write-off of both the Hardys for a while, and then Jeff comes back reincarnated after getting going into the lake, and nope, that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, I can see why they wouldn't go with that one because Jeff Hardy is a big enough name. You don't want to risk the character on stuff like that. But plus, as we know this one from other companies in this one, get woken, go broke. So.
Jeez.
Yes.
And I didn't mean him like coming back out as Willow or anything. Just like it would have been a nice because man, Jeff is hurting.
Yeah.
Like it would be a nice way to give him like maybe
he needs to take a break.
Rumble or something. Like give like okay, here's a Jeff Appreciation Night. 20 years of Jeff. Matt, comes out, hugs, no turn, no bullshit, just hugs, and they leave, and we don't see Jeff again until Rumble, maybe before Mania, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like give the dude a break because his body is so broken.
Yeah, and that's really the
problem. I didn't actually mean to #broken.
Yeah, that's the problem though with most of the high flying performers where once a high flyer is broken, then there's pretty much doomed on it because once you're at the point where you're ready to wind down, you still have to do all your trademark spots. But for Jeff Hardy, that trademark spot involves the twist of fate, the poetry in motion, the swanton bomb. That's what you pay to see Jeff Hardy do. And
he quit doing a lot of that on house shows.
Yeah.
He'd only do it on TV.
Yeah. And that was why it's surprising that Matt Hardy was the first to retire because he was always the one who was able to realize, okay, I'll work a little bit of a safer style. I'll tone down my spots and work a safer style so I can do things that I can do until my 50s or 60s.
And we have Jeff still going through the top of the cell through a table.
Yep, through the cell, through the table. Jeff, that is lava. I know. I am extreme.
You're an asshole.
There's one I haven't heard in a while.
Yep.
You're a fun asshole, but you're still an asshole because that was.
But that's what happens on Whacked Out Wrestling, the show that doesn't give any fucks. So,
yeah, I'm hoping that they can get him on on a Legends contract soon, so he won't have to break himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that like every? I don't want to say every fan because Lord knows, like I don't want to. But like, okay, you entertained us for this long.
For God's sake, take a break.
Now we be like, okay, thank you for entertaining us this long. And now just to, we want to see you, but you don't have to put your body through hell anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's also
I don't want to make it like I'm not trying to say like, yeah, now that you've broken yourself, we don't want to see you anymore. I'm saying we want to see you, but maybe like as like in a less dangerous capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
one plus as well on it, where it is, in defense, it is hard to say that as well when you remember that SmackDown's big free agent signing of the last few months was Rey Mysterio, who's been doing it as long as Jeff Hardy does and as high risk as Jeff Hardy was. But he left in 2013. He got himself into shape. He's back, and he doesn't seem like he's missed a beat. He looks better than he has in 10 years. So it is
really does. And if you know Ray's past with his knees, like dude doesn't like those aren't even his knees anymore.
Yeah. And the guy isn't wrestling like he did in 1996, but virtually no one's wrestling in like 1996 Rey Mysterio. But he looks like he was in 2006, 2007, and that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's adapted his style to some degree. Like it's
do, you know, like because you're not going to be able to do the stuff he used to do. Like a lot of wrestlers have been in that position where they had a particular style, but after like eventually it got to a point where their bodies couldn't accommodate that style, so they had to like change their style to a way that like to something that they could do, like a lot of high flyers might not be able to do that. Like Owen Hart used to be like a a big time high flyer, wasn't he? And then like he had to sort of dial it back.
Yeah, and it can also lead to them becoming bigger than you could imagine. Best example there, Steve Austin being a very good technical wrestler, Stunning Steve. He gets his neck injury against Owen Hart. He had to become a brawler, and for a few years he was the greatest brawler on the planet and took himself into levels he could have never dreamed of.
And by adaptation alone, I kind of have to. There's better, but just switching the style, I will give Stone Cold the nod of, and yes, I'm on Whacked Out Wrestling, but you can find me Fireman6809 on Twitter if you want to send like hate takes. Like just because of the adaptation, like one of the greatest brawlers of all time, like if not the, because that wasn't his style. He adapted to that style and made it work so well.
Yep. And honestly, that would be another problem where this might be the fault of WWE for hurting Jeff Hardy in this one by not readjusting the Swanton Bomb and things like that for other people. Like, for instance, with Rey Mysterio as an example, one of Rey's trademark moves was the 619. If you saw a Rey Mysterio match, that's what one of the moves you're paying to see. But look at the roster right now. We see Cesaro do the 619 regularly. Peyton Royce has done the 619 in matches before, and she's not exactly a great wrestler to speak of on this one. So it's not like people aren't doing the 619, which means that Rey Mysterio doesn't have to do the 619.
Hell, they've even changed for the uninitiated, which I'm surely those aren't listening, but they even changed the area code for the 619.
Yeah, like the Amazing Red, when he did it, he called it the 718.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And surely Ray, when he re-signed or came back, he has enough clout, enough, like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not doing this anymore. I can do the 619, and this might come off a little callous because 2 years ago, Home Dude did die. But like I will still do this move. Like he can do the 619 on his body safely. Like it's not taking off the top rope or.
Yeah, and that's really what would help on this one for the high flyers on this one, because the Swanton Bomb, people don't do it with the style that Jeff Hardy did, but I've always felt that one of the biggest weaknesses all of Team Extreme's high flying moves was that a lot of their style was code name for they're not doing it very well executed. So you could just give someone else the senton bomb, and suddenly Jeff Hardy wouldn't have to do it all the time. You'd have someone else do it.
Oh,
how long do you think Ember Moon's going to last with the Eclipse?
I'm assuming that she'll probably last about 2 years, but given the fact that we've seen that Ember Moon is not a good fit for the main roster, that'll be about 2 years of her career, and then she can go to the indie scene again.
She's got to get a different finisher.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot flip off the top rope and land straight on your butt every time and be okay. Physics says, like, no.
Well, on the plus side, she doesn't win that often on the main roster, so she doesn't have to do the Eclipse that often on the main roster.
True. But when she does.
Yeah. And that would be a plus there on it, because, again, with her, it's just the case that you're seeing all of her weaknesses on the main rosters to the point where you can see that she's a very good wrestler, but she didn't have the character down pat, and now you're finding out on the main roster a character is what matters.
See, that's where things like Finn, for instance. Yes, I'm raising my hand. You know, you can't see me on camera, but I'm a huge Prince Devitt, Finn Balor fan.
We can tell.
You hush your mouth when you're talking to me. But his finishers aren't like devastating on his own body.
Mm-hmm.
Like the coup de grace, the 1916, the bloody sun, like he can do those day in and day out, and they're not. They look like they're supposed to. They're presented as like, holy shit, you just got double stomped off the top rope. You know, you're done. Mm-hmm. But it's taking time off of his career of, I just hit ass first, which shoots straight up my vertebrae.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that really it ties back to what we were talking about on the Survivor Series watch on Sunday, where Kerry Von Erich was incredibly good with his finishers, because every single finisher he did, if he had lived, he could be doing those finishers today on indie matches in Texas, and would have been perfectly able to. You could do the
absolutely
punch, the claw. You could do those in your 80s and 90s.
Jake the Snake is still doing DDTs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and DDTs would be almost closer to a rougher finish to do on this one. But
yeah, they're still jarred to the back and stuff, but you're literally just sitting down, like jumping down to your butt, not like off the top rope, flipping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's surprising that you don't see that on the main roster with people like Road Dogg having such power on it, because with Road Dogg, if he didn't get into the WWE and on their creative team and go through, he could be on any indie in the world doing the shake, rattle, and roll, and do that for well into his 70s.
Do we dare talk about the 6 moves of doom from Cena?
Well, at least, and that's the same thing, because people knock the 5 moves of doom or 6 moves of doom style that WWE does, but tell the truth, that shit works. There's only a few amounts of moves that people really want to see you do, and you can just do those every night and be able to get into it. So most of it's punch, kick, but those are the moves you have to do, and you're going to show them every night. That's a perfectly smart way to wrestle.
Exactly. And it's the for lack of better phrasing, the other crowd of, well, I'm so tired of seeing he doesn't use it anymore. Mm-hmm. So, but Dean's rebound rope clothesline. Mm-hmm. Like if there was if you didn't see that in a match, like it was in a Dean match.
Yeah. Yeah, and even then, it just goes to the case where it doesn't look good all the time because Dean Ambrose isn't a very good striker, but when someone like Nigel McGuinness did the same move, it looked perfectly fine. So
yeah, Dean was not always right in his timing of how he did it, and but there, and this might be for a different topic, but if wrestler A is wrestling wrestler B, there's some moves that you just expect.
Yeah, and that's really what it goes down to. Where, as you have high flyers, you're going to have to switch some of those moves to somebody else.
Yes,
like, for instance, if you're going into a match with say Jeff Hardy, you expect the Swanton Bomb. You go into a match with Stone Cold Steve Austin, you expect the Stunner. You go into a match with Nick Gage, you expect him to kill David Arquette.
Nice. Where's the bank robbery in between those two things, though?
Well, at least with that one, it was still the case where Gage had been in some problems on it. He got through them. He got into jail, got the help he needed, came back and kept his career going. So it works.
That was a poor taste joke on my behalf, but
yeah.
But yeah, if they, and I'm not saying like tone everything down, but for instance, for different reasons, per reports, USA is down on Seth using the stomp again, so he won a match on the Falcon Arrow against what we talked about with the Dolph match. He won the match on the Falcon Arrow.
Yes.
Like, okay, we want to see this stuff. Excuse me, but at the same time, like, it's also cool to see a match, like, because everybody kicks out of the Falcon Arrow. Everybody. Like, there's some, independents and stuff where that's their finishing maneuver and it wins matches.
Yeah.
But Seth hitting a Falcon Arrow and winning a match, that was, like, new.
Yeah. And that helps on these ones because
we
don't have to show Seth Rollins winning a match with a neo-Nazi move with, like, the curb stomp. We'll have him win a match with the Holocaust.
Damn.
Yes, that was, for anyone listening, that was what it was called when Hardcore Holly used it.
Yes.
It was the 90s and the 2000s. Everything was...
Yeah, it was about a different time period. Back when people thought that Nazis were something in the 1940s instead of someone who did believe something against what you believe in any way, shape, or form.
And if anybody just randomly wants to, like, man, I really want to punch that dude in the face, just look at Raw for All and rejoice in.
Yeah.
Holly's, like, no, where's my Consuelo?
No. But yes, it still does go through them, and so through all of Raw and SmackDown this week, pretty much nothing happened, and that was a big problem on the show as well. Like, we got this much time out of just talking about how nothing happened, and it just wasn't that. It was just meh. And it's also the difference of how you can perceive a show based on things. Like, SmackDown felt like a breather episode, and Raw felt like same old shit.
Right. There was a bit of accidental synergy. in one case. Apparently, Netflix announced that they're going to be offering Neon Genesis Evangelion for stream, and at the same time, Asuka wound up winning a battle royal to qualify in the TLC.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that really does help on this one, where at least WWE's willing to do the natural thing by pushing the red-haired, crazy costume to this Japanese girl named Asuka, as it happens. So, but unfortunately,
I do feel like they really missed a trick though with the mixed match challenge by not teaming her up with Ray.
Yeah. So I think that also has the problem where, yeah, if that happened, then you'd probably have to go with so many other Rey Mysterios for it, which means you have to go do it with Sin Cara.
The one from AAA or the other one.
Well, he's the only one who has clones, so.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But that also does work on this one, where Netflix announced Neon Genesis Evangelion and giving anime fans a goal, they also made plans to have Cowboy Bebop as a live-action movie. Judging by Death Note and Bleach, we remind you, there are services to go through. Have your childhood call Rain now, because that live-action show is guaranteed to rape your childhood. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say about the Ray and Asuka thing. You could have had backstage segments where you had Callisto like get in the ring, Callisto, or Ray will have to go in again.
Mm-hmm. I mustn't run away from these jokes. I mustn't run away from these jokes. But yes, that is going to be at least one plus on it. So they did give something to replace Lucha Underground. And meanwhile, on this one, to continue this one and give some padding to this episode, while we had so many problems, we have a special bonus in the top 10 biggest dick moves Dixie Carter ever did. Because nothing else worked on this week, so we have to find something to talk about. And your top 10 from the home office outside Providence, Rhode Island is number 10. Dixie Carter lies about talking to the WWE by telling everybody in TNA, no, we're not talking with WWE to sell. We're not talking. We're going to keep it going. While she's talking to WWE about selling. Number 9, she goes live on TV after the Hulk Hogan's hiring and has a big meeting telling everybody, you all suck, you're not doing it right, there's the door if you don't like it, you keep going for this one, it's our way or the highway, you don't like it, you can quit. Homicide then proceeded to quit and was not allowed to. Number 8. Putting Robbie McAllister on TV in the Impact crowd, a move that got rid of his WrestleMania paycheck and got him fired from the company. Then, so even though they hired everybody who was a WWE cast-off and he had friends in the company, which is why he was there, they never brought the Highlanders in. Number 7, Chris Candido dies under TNA's watch. His longtime girlfriend, Sunny, is given a condolence ham for her services on this. But because they weren't married, they don't give him his back pay. Number 6, Jesse Neal announces he's qualified for food stamps for how little he made in TNA. This happening as Hulk Hogan was making more money than most of the roster combined for one appearance. Number 5, Daphne gets disabled and breaks her neck in a match. TNA puts her in death matches just to continue with it. Number 4, they use fired matches on the card regularly, multiple times, to surprise someone by saying, "Oh yeah, you're fired," and not telling them until the match itself that, "Nope, you're fired now." Number 3, AJ Styles gets lowballed by TNA to the point he had no choice but to leave for bright greener pastures. He goes to New Japan, becomes a big star, and eventually gets into a bidding war, finally signing with WWE. TNA turns around and says, no, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows had agreed to terms to come to us instead, but WWE tampered with it in an attempt to screw over his new contract and spoil that he was debuting at the Royal Rumble. Number 2, Billy Corgan comes in as a member of this backstage team. Carter then proceeds to say, "Oh yeah, fund this taping and fund this taping for the next 18 months." In exchange, selling small pieces of the company and dangling the carrot of, "If you do this, we'll sell you the company." Corgan then realized they were never going to sell him the company and stopped funding the shows. Dixie followed by sending Billy Corgan to court. And number 1 was Jesse Sorensen breaks his neck in a match. Dixie claims she's going to help him out with his bills. He then doesn't get the help from this TNA. His mother pays all the bills, declares bankruptcy, sells the family restaurant, and then TNA fires him. Those are your top 10 dick moves by Dixie Carter.
Yeah, I feel like even Eric Bischoff would not have gone that far with what they did with Jesse Sorensen.
Yeah, and that's one of the surprises where even if he ended up getting better enough to the point he could wrestle again, even managing to wrestle for Paragon Pro Wrestling, which got televised, jobber matches for WWE, and wrestling in some pictured matches with Victoria that we weren't supposed to see, he still managed to have these dick moves.
I take issue with you using the word top. Like, these are bottom 10.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, obviously 10 biggest dick moves.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These top 10 ones because yeah.
Like when I say take issue, like, I'm not like those kind of people like, oh, I'm offended, or I take it like, no, these are like dick moves. And Daphne, I think was number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was because now all of a sudden, like, for the last year or two, like, oh, you're paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's put you in death matches.
Yeah. Well, in defense,
like, you can feel your fingers. Let's put you in death matches.
Yeah. Well, in defense, when I had some previous ones, that could have been as high as 2, but I lowered it to 5 on the grounds that some of the claims by Bruce Pritchard about the whole situation could have led it to at least, okay, it's more of a gray area than just a blatant dick move. So there was that as well, which needed to be kept in mind.
I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. You did know or not?
No, I do know what you're talking about.
Okay. Yep. So just wanted to make sure. So same with why Robbie McAllister being on TV was so low, because it was kind of his fault. WWE did say you can't go to the Impact show, and if you do, for God's sakes, don't get on TV. So he went to the show and got on TV.
Yeah, that's not even somewhat. That is 100% on Robbie on that one.
Yeah.
But I don't have like any feeling in my left leg and my right arm, and oh, do you mean feeling? Here you go. Here's a match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what they did to Daphne was that was disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, that was gross negligence on their part. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's just a good thing that Stephanie McMahon invented women, so we never have these problems again.
You never fail to get that in somewhere.
Well, of course, people have to know about the invention of women by Stephanie McMahon's Grace.
And we were sort of discussing this this list before we started. Were there any honorable? Like, I think there were some that might have wound up being honorable mentions that we sort of talked about there.
Yep, some of the honorable mentions were going on vacation when the TV deal was coming up for their show, ruining the Destination America contract by emailing internally mocking the people at Destination America after she had went to Destination America after WGN America had badly wanted him solely because they promised her two shows or more, giving her her goal of trying to be a reality TV star. Destination America then canceled most of the extra shows, but that's more Destination America dick move instead. Giving the Jersey Shore stars $15,000 a show, which was more than all of the knockouts made for an appearance combined at that time. This was for one appearance on shows where their appearance aired at 10 p.m. on Thursday night, which at the time was opposite Jersey Shore. And Magnus getting a big push because Dixie liked his ass. Those were your other honorable mentions for this. But most of those don't really seem to work on them because the Destination America stuff was stupid. The vacation thing was not as big a dick move as Paul Heyman's dick move in doing something similar. The Jersey Shore thing was just a dipshit move, and every promoter pushes people because they're attracted to them.
Right, and then there was a hidden gem revealed on the WWE Network of a Mid-South match from 1983, the pairing of Dusty Rhodes and the Junkyard Dog taking on the future $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and the future Doink Matt Bourne.
Mm-hmm. And that is a very interesting one for multiple reasons because, first off, that match sounds incredible as it is, but you also
There's
have
a possibility I was at that show.
Mm-hmm.
Possibility.
Yeah. And you also have the fact that there's not that many hidden gems from Mid-South, if not only because Mid-South is put on the WWE Network, but most of Mid-South's video library was sent out to people through DVDs, and you could get it pretty easily. Like, the Watts family was very willing to sell DVDs of it until WWE bought the library.
Real quick on the Dixie Carter thing, like her like one B maybe because your 1A is very solid. Like what she did to the designing women, like that was uncalled for.
Yes.
And if you don't get that reference, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, that was also one of those cases where you knew that someone was going to be the person try and hinder the middle-aged version of the Golden Girls. So, which also ties into why they need an old woman to pay off the Drake Maverick feud because we've seen that old women equal money now.
I swear to, if we get a urination pseudo porn thing out of this, no. My breaking point is like very, very, no, don't, no. Like, just don't do that. Like, we're not doing. No, please don't.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because apparently on Twitter, Drake's still egging on a Big Boy can still use the toilet apparently, but he's like, don't involve just it's gone far enough. Like, don't.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah. And apparently, Aleister Black from NXT is being considered for the main roster.
Well, that would also play a good role into this, letting Jeff Hardy have time off, because I could absolutely see Aleister Black getting the fat goth girls to come over him enough so that he could replace them there. So.
I'm at the point in SK, you know me well enough, and John, I think you've.
I probably have an idea, but go ahead.
I'm not a WWE apologist. I sound like it because I'm always on the brighter side of things. Like, at least we had this. At least we had this. Here lately, I don't even have that to rely on. Please do not put Tommy fucking End, aka Aleister Black, on the main roster anytime soon. Please do not. Not with what they're currently, whatever the hell they're trying to tell. Like, no, please. Like, I need 1,000 Consuelos saying no, no, no,
no,
like,
no, no, no.
For no, please do not put Tommy and Aleister Black. Do not. They're the current. Even if you foreshadow going into WrestleMania, like, he's not. He's going to be another lost peg in the cog, and no, he deserves so much better. I don't mind him being an NXT lifer if that's what it takes. Like, just do not put him kind of a Finn Balor 3.0. Like, no, please do not. Of all people.
Well, basically,
like, I've given you chance after chance after chance with Prince Devitt going to Finn Balor, going Finn Balor to main roster. I've given a chance with Jon Moxley going to Dean Ambrose, and he was never on NXT, but he was in FCW. I've given you a chance with, Seth Rollins, and now you're even fucking that up. And just right now, no call-ups. No, get your shit together before you call up more people.
Well, the big problem on this one is not just those ones, but for Aleister Black's bigger issue is that a good test to see if someone on NXT is ready for a call-up would be try to describe how you would sell that character to Vince McMahon if you had to sell this character and say, I'm promoting this guy, sell him to him. Like, for instance, Lars Sullivan is very good on this one because you have simple. He's big, he's scary looking, he's dominant, he's a pretty good power guy, but he's not there yet, but he's big, scary, and looks like someone who could feud with a top star. That's all.
If we're just going off of pitch, hey, he portrays Satan. People think you're Satan. It works.
Yeah. But even then, there's still the case where with Aleister Black.
I meant that again for Aleister Black. Like,
yeah,
people think you're the devil. He's portraying a devil character. Like, shoot him to the moon.
Yeah, but even with Aleister Black, I wouldn't say he's the devil because Bray Wyatt was more of the devil than Aleister Black is. Aleister Black he's kind of spooky. He's kind of mysterious. He's kind of an edgelord if you think about it, but he's basically a good guy, but says he's not really a good guy, but that you're not a good guy either, but you're not evil either. So he'd probably work well as a tweener, but there's still a lot of his character he needs to work out there.
Right. unfortunately, we already have a guy who's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's just the guy.
Yes.
Yeah, Becky Lynch is really coming to her own.
Mm-hmm.
I was going more Roman Reigns, but yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've got him before Stans.
Yeah. But that would also go with the same thing where Becky Lynch will be good until you fail with the people who's probably the blue chip ones in that pitch this NXT performer to Vince McMahon on it, where you know that all you have to do is say, she's blonde, she's a former Marine, she thinks women should be subservient to her husband.
Oh, God, you're going Lacey Evans on me.
Champion. Yep. And all you have to do is say those things, and you know, Vince and say, she's the world champion next week.
Is this anyone in particular, or?
Yes,
Lacey Evans.
Okay.
And that's a problem because if you know how to pitch it to Vince, it works. And if you don't know, it's basically a way to determine, could this character work on the main roster or not?
And that's what worries me about Aleister Black. Okay, he's got this, he's got this, he's got this, he's got this, and, well, he doesn't quite have the size. Well, okay, we'll just put him in, Tyler Breeze's old role, or...
Yeah. But I think
he's not the biggest dude. And, damn it, like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you not see what's happening, not just within your own company that you own, which includes NXT and 205 Live. Like, do you not see, but what's happening around the world? It's not about hair color. It's not about size. It's not about brutality. It's about, are we fucking entertained or are we not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really the big thing on them, because that seems to be a weakness with NXT, where they have a lot of good stars, but they don't have a lot of complete performers. And if they are remotely complete, you can't really imagine them being good on this main roster. Like everybody pretty much knows, Velveteen Dream may be the best prospect that NXT has, but you just look at him and this dude's totally going to be gold dust on the main roster.
Yeah, take the complete NXT performers, like make a top 5 out of the complete package in NXT. With Velveteen Dream, Johnny Gargano, Aleister Black, Tommaso Ciampa. Throw in a 5th one, Greenie.
5th one, I'd probably say Kairi Sane. So
put them on the main roster, and you just foreshadow joke.
Exactly. And that's really the thing, because you have things that work in the main roster but don't work on NXT and vice versa. Like
I'll see your Kairi Sane and raise you Adam Cole.
I do not see Adam Cole working on the main roster, even on this
at all.
Yeah,
like at all.
That's my hot take. The Undisputed Era would bomb on the main roster. There are 4 of them.
Absolutely. In my opinion, that's not a hot take. That's a true take.
Yeah. They're just 4 Johnny Kickpads guys, just being Johnny Kickpads guys. The only one with any charisma is Adam Cole, and his whole gimmick is he says his name all the time, baby. He is a Pokemon in wrestling. That's what Adam Cole is. And
it's been done before with Ty Dillinger. 10, and he'd get NXT crowds just going apeshit. It's 10. Mm-hmm. Now it's Adam Cole, and the whole crowd will, baby. Mm-hmm. That doesn't translate to main roster success.
Yeah. And even the charisma that you've seen with the Red Dragon guys showing more charisma in NXT, they do air guitar with their title belt. That's not charismatic. That's what an uncharismatic person would think charisma is.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I remember Hulk Hogan. That guy's this charisma guy.
Remember when he came out with the WCW Championship and had NWO, painted on it, and he'd play the guitar to Jimi Hendrix? Do you remember that? Well, here's something similar to that. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna do that, they might as well cut to the chase and
just have Hogan be the champion and play the guitar.
Yeah. And even Hulk Hogan, who cannot wrestle and cannot physically do his spots anymore without his spine breaking into a million pieces, and who's damaged goods to everyone in wrestling, is still more charismatic than Kyle O'Reilly on the best day of his life.
And Bobby Fish, let's just go and lump them together, in my opinion.
Well, at least Bobby Fish has the plus where you could probably make him a wrestling hipster. And judging by how Vince McMahon hates millennials, you could probably do a lot with Bobby Fish on the main roster, just as look at this fucking hipster.
Basically, and on the main roster, like Kurt Hawkins 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really the problem, where the Undisputed Era may be a great team in NXT, but the only hope you might have of getting something in the main roster is split the team up. At least we know Red Dragon is a very good tag team, and Adam Cole and Roderick Strong both have that kind of douchebag frat boy whose dad owns a dealership, and so they don't have to do jack shit in college. Charisma about him, so you could probably get a good dick heel tag team out of those two. But as a unit, that doesn't work.
Right. As what we know now as the Undisputed Era will not work on the main roster.
Yeah.
If for no other reason, you're going to get, regardless, Raw, SmackDown, you're going to get, they're not the biggest guys. They're all small. You can't really separate them. They can work as a tag team. How's the tag team division on both rosters working currently? They're not. You have two monsters among men getting relegated to literally a pissing sideshow.
Right.
Yeah, and that we've seen this one on the rest of the roster, where on paper they should have a great tag team division right now, but none of them work on it because they're not treating them as anything. For the Authors of Pain, they just had, the B team. They're fun. Everybody likes them, but that's not really a great tag team. You got teams who are supposed to be the great tag team in the Revival, and they're just, let's have them put on good matches but not do much. You have teams like Lucha House Party doing good lucha things, woo. And then
nice.
So that works on it. And on SmackDown, it's even worse, where you had to put Anderson and Gallows, who are circling the drain on SmackDown, on the team. You had to put the Colognes on the team to fill out SmackDown roster. That's bad. What was it? We
do you remember
Iconics on, but we don't want to put a woman team on this one, because that would have been better than the Colognes.
Do you remember the SmackDown before Survivor Series when the Usos promo they're going tag team to tag team, and they got to the Usos, and they gave those the Colognes like props, but at the same time you could kind of see like, oh, you're still employed here. Yeah, where they're giving the tag team, the other tag teams, shirts, and they got to the Colognes, like they sold it well, like because they even went back to their vacation gimmick stuff. Like if you need a share, like they sold it well, but they were also at the same time like, oh, well, you're warm bodies, you're here. Yeah. Here's a shirt.
Yeah. And that's really the thing on them, because The Colognes are just the example of, in defense of the perfect carpenters you have. They're not over. They're not going to be over. But at the very least, they're a very talented tag team, and everybody's aware that they're a very talented tag team. They're just not over, and they're not going to be over. That's the perfect type of team you need. Just show up, lose to people, get their paycheck, put on a pretty good match, and just do it. It's a living.
Right. Like, that's...
Yeah, they could use a lot more teams like the Colognes who are good and everybody knows it, but they're not so good that everybody thinks they need a good push.
And that lies the problem. Let's just stick to the tag team, because Lord knows they can expand to singles. But in the tag team division on both rosters, the portrayal is everything.
Mm-hmm.
How you portray people, win or lose, how they're portrayed is where your bread and butter is.
Yeah. And they're
not portraying, again, because I could go off on the single division too, but just sticking to tag team, they're not portraying either or, whether it's a threat or, okay, a jobber kind of status, a carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so middle ground, like it's so meh.
Yeah. And that's really the problem, because when Road Dogg said wins and losses don't matter, it was controversial, but the bigger thing is that perception matters, and we see it on two different things. Like Becky Lynch had a very good one-loss record all year until the SummerSlam aborted turn, but she was always perceived as, this is a female mid-card wrestler who everybody really, really wants to see make it to the top of the mountain and get the conch shell, even though she totally did in the past. So everybody perceived her as, she's just a mid-carder and it doesn't matter on it because she needs to get the conch shell. Now they're positioning her as, this is a star, this is the man, this is one of the big stars in the division, she has the conch shell. All of a sudden, she looks like one of the best booked performers on the show. Funny how that happens.
The difference in that is Becky had a following.
Yeah.
Going in and coming out.
Mm-hmm. But even the following does hurt, because her following perceived her as, she hasn't been given the conch shell yet, so she's basically a jobber, and so no matter how often she wins, it's not like she's really a star. She hasn't been given the conch shell, so she's not a star. And the following actually hurt it. And then on the other hand, you have someone like, say, Roman Reigns, who has lost far more than any top guy should have lost in his time, was shunted to mid-card more often, but it was just Winston Churchill mode. Yes, I may have lost you tonight, but tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be Roman Reigns and you're going to be you. And so that means I still won.
Right, and I see what you're saying, and that's a perfect. I say perfect. It's a great alignment of, or comparison, Roman Reigns and Becky, and how, like a better term, like their rise to the top. Like there was, like, just crown Roman, get it over with, and it was the exact opposite for Becky of, can we please crown her? Like there was same notion but two different wordings.
Mm-hmm.
Like just let Roman win already. Let him beat Brock. Let him. Two different stories, but kind of similar in the how fans were reacting. Of, you have your Becky fans that were, can she please win something? Yes, she was the first SmackDown Women's Champion, but then she wasn't, and she just was there.
Yeah.
And then really... on the other end of the spectrum of, like, always, both deservingly so, like, they should have been fighting the whole time.
Yeah. But it also does matter on this one because, again, it's just like, even if they win something or lose something, depending on how you're perceived, it doesn't matter. Like, with Becky Lynch, it's like, can she just win something? And she just beat this person. Can she just win something? And it's like, she just did. No, she didn't. She didn't win anything. She just win something. And
it
then
went from she win a match to, okay, she won that much. She win a match that matters? Okay, she won that match. Can she win a match that matters even more? Okay, she won that match. Can she win the big match? Can she?
But it still is a problem on this one because even if it's, can she win a match that matters, is the same point, because it's like, can she win a match that matters and it eventually becomes, well, how could that match matter? It doesn't seem like it matters.
Exactly. You and I, yes. Like, when she would win, like, okay, because it got downplayed. Like, okay, so she won this, but did it really matter? Like, didn't just yesterday before this taping or pay-per-view or whatever happened, weren't you just asking for her to win and she won? And like, it's the Moore syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, but I need more. I need
that's really the problem on it, because it's also the reverse with Roman Reigns, where it's, he just needs to lose. Okay, he lost to Braun Strowman. No, he just needs to lose more. Okay.
Yes.
He lost to this
exactly.
And it's, no, he just needs to be a mid-carder. Okay, we're dropping him to the mid-card feud with Rusev. And he lost to them.
Literally.
But eventually.
Literally. He was the United States champion. Literally mid-card title.
Yeah. And eventually it goes to the same thing where you have to realize that Roman Reigns had gotten to a point where he could have beaten Kurt Hawkins' losing streak, and it wouldn't have mattered because he's Roman Reigns and he's in your head, and that means no matter what he's doing, you think he's the top star, and that makes him the top star in the company.
Rent-free motherfuckers.
Yep.
In your head, no matter what, and that's been going on with Becky here lately. No matter what article or a conversation can be had, and it was Roman, now it's Becky. No matter what conversation is being had about wrestling, and Becky comes up, nothing to do with Becky. We could be talking about New Japan, and Becky will come up. It could be.
I think that Becky could probably beat Okada. I mean, she has legit MMA training. That's enough to beat Okada, right?
Sir, you have gone off the rails.
Well, but seriously, it is a problem on this one because even with Becky, you still have problems with how she's got rent-free in your head. It's a problem. Like, right now with the Charlotte turn, you have the biggest worry that they're going to do Charlotte versus Ronda at WrestleMania now that people accept it. They're going to shunt off Becky to fight Nia Jax in the low card. And then, because it's a low card match, they'll think, well, we tried Becky. She failed, so let's just not try her again. She's proven she's a low carder. And that wouldn't be the problem, except because Becky's so good at Twitter, suddenly anytime she trolls someone on there, it's like, we got to have this match. We need it. We need this match. And it's like, okay, you had matches against Ronda. We need Becky Ronda. Okay, Nia just broke her face. We need Becky Nia. Oh, Rhea Ripley just responded to a tweet. Send her to NXT UK. We need Becky Rhea. Jericho just responded to her. Jericho's worked with women before. We need Becky Jericho. Rollins is bad with these ones. Rollins seems like a good dude. He probably worked with women. We We need Becky Rollins, and so on and so forth. And it goes to the case where eventually you just need nothing. Like in the Yes movement, if Daniel Bryan said, okay, I want Randy Orton, I've got to beat him to topple the authority. But you know what? I'd be fine if I beat Triple H too. And I'd be fine if I beat Kane. And I'd be fine if I beat Bray Wyatt. And I'd be fine if I solidified that it wasn't a fluke when I beat John Cena. And I'd like to face CM Punk and steal the show and beat him. And I'd like to beat Sheamus and prove that I get exercise my demons. And I'd like to beat X and Y and Z and everybody. It wouldn't matter eventually. Eventually you'd have so many matchups that the wrestlers said they want, and eventually the fans would be fine with it. And that's the big worry with all the Twitter work. It's not that you get Charlotte versus Ronda at WrestleMania and Becky Nia's in the low card, but if they did Becky Nia in the low card and Charlotte Ronda in the main event, a lot of fans would be fine with that. And that is terrible.
I did it. Excuse me, losing my voice a little bit. I did a second VWP episode since Matt was at work last night. It was kind of a thrown together thing. So we did a proper Violent Wrestling podcast earlier, and that got brought up of the WrestleMania, the women's matches, and Matt is, surely they're gonna do, Becky versus Ronda. Like, no, they're gonna do like what, over the summer. It's gonna be Ronda versus Charlotte, and unfortunately, we get Becky versus Nia.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's really the problem because, again, the issue isn't just getting Becky versus Nia. The issue is that enough time with the face breaker of Nia Jax, enough time with Becky going after Nia on Twitter, enough time with the hatred of Nia Jax would mean
going to be more by the
Becky
time it
Nia, if Becky fought Nia, people wouldn't be devastated that Becky didn't get Ronda in the main event. They'd say, well, we didn't get Ronda in the main event, but Becky gets to get revenge on Nia Jax, so I'm cool with that. Go with it. Yeah, I'll run with this. And that's not what you do. If you want Becky to be in the main event of WrestleMania, you've got to say, nothing else but the main event of WrestleMania will do. And if that means Ronda's getting the main event of WrestleMania, you say, we are getting Becky, not Ronda. You are giving us this tusk, and nothing else will do but that.
That and the underlying problem of, we're just now going into December. A Nia Becky feud going into April might become lukewarm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A Becky versus Ronda feud going into April might be lukewarm.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that really is the question mark with the Battle Royal result, because if you have Charlotte's kind of a heel, but she's not really a heel, and she's kind of a face, but she's still going after Rousey, and Becky was kind of a heel, but she's not really a heel, and the fans decided she's a face, and she's also going after Rousey on it, but she's going after everyone. The end result of this seems like there's too much here that reeks of, okay, you wouldn't accept Charlotte as heel, you wouldn't accept Becky as a heel. Plan C, we're turning Asuka.
Yeah, like I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And in defense, it would probably work well because Asuka works better as a heel than she would as a face, because you can't have this unstoppable force as a huge hero.
Release AJPW Asuka, like heel Asuka Kana on WWE, like it's money.
Yeah.
It's just, are they willing to pull the trigger?
Well, that's also the problem. Where if they're not pulling the trigger on the curb stomp, you'd think they'd pull the trigger on evil Nazi clown ripping people's shirts off, Asuka. I sincerely doubt that.
Well, I do too. I'm trying to live in a realm that I know won't happen, but
yeah. Which is a shame because kids need to learn about sexy Nazi clowns who rip each other's shirts off.
I mean, how do you think I'm? Where do you think my sex ed came from?
Yep. All it was Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, over and over again.
You're an ass.
All that women had.
Good Lord.
Poor John. John's like, oh, I have to listen to this shit.
I've known Tom for a while. I've known him for some of his Steve Irwin related gallows humor.
Yes.
Oh wow.
I don't know if I did that much Steve Irwin gallows humor though. It's that I don't think I remember those ones. So
I'm sorry, John.
Well, the important thing is that you understand the most essential component of any kind of gallows humor: the execution.
Exactly. And really, that's the thing on this one, where Mox's brother was the person who created WoW, so he's responsible for WoW Fed in those ones, and that's what led to me and Joey being how we are. So
by proxy, like, I'm popular, or I'm a good guy, or just by proxy, like.
Exactly.
Hey, I wasn't asking for confirmation, asshole.
Well, that's one of the things where it's not a bad podcast. It's not a good podcast. It's the podcast. But really, that's all that we have for this week, because there really wasn't that much for this week. So until next week, hopefully they have a better show, which would be pretty much impossible not to do.
Right. So, like if next week is worse than this week, like, people are literally trying to make it worse.
Yeah. So expect next week for the big shows and the big matches of Seth Rollins faces Dolph Ziggler. Baron Corbin faces Finn Balor. They do something with the Lucha Underhouse Party facing the Revival. Because Drake Maverick pees on something. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable pretend they're a tag team. And they probably have the Riot Squad fight Bayley and Sasha Banks again. All this on the incredibly unexpected Monday Night Raw.
You missed the most important part. Alexa Bliss is general manager-elect, and we have to see where that goes.
Well, that one is also a problem on this one, where it just seems like Alexa Bliss as a general manager type would work, but it's right now she's general manager of the women, which is not a good move on this one, because everyone was calling that Alexa Bliss would replace Baron Corbin as GM of Raw when this happens, and that would probably be a good deal. But
there's an issue I won't get into about the elect part. Like, you weren't voted on.
Yeah. But at least if Alexa Bliss was replacing Corbin as GM, that could probably be pretty interesting, because we don't know if she's going to be able to continue her career after all the concussions, but she's still charismatic. She's still got a good character, and she could probably be a good heel for it. But at the same time, being named general manager of the women specifically is not very good for future good episodes of Raw, because that basically hints they know Braun Strowman is not going to be healthy for TLC, which means that they changed plans and Baron Corbin's going to win and be permanent general manager. Which, God, no.
Fuck a bunch of that.
Yeah. Because again, it goes back to the same thing said earlier. If this show was basically just prepping things for when Braun Strowman comes back and kicks Corbin's ass, then it's a perfectly acceptable show. It's not good, but not every show can be, and that's perfectly acceptable. A breather episode every now and then is perfectly fine. But if there's that feeling that you know that they've already accepted, they don't have strong DLC and they've made their plan B, then you gotta realize, oh, fuck, this is going on for more and more time.
I'm at the point like, where's John Laurinaitis when you need him? Where's people power?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, it would be pretty interesting on this one. So
it would be something. Like it would at least be different from what we've been getting. It would be something we've gotten before, but it would at least not be the same thing that we've been getting for the last few weeks.
Yeah, it would be the difference between at least John Laurinaitis was an ineffective doofus middle manager asshole, but you knew he was less an asshole middle manager because he was openly evil and more because he was completely inept. It would be like
I'm game for the anonymous general manager coming back. Like at this point, like you can't do any worse than what you're doing, so bring back the.
They'd have to sign Hornswoggle again.
Yeah.
Okay, no, don't, John, don't push it.
Yeah. Or if it's the anonymous GM, they just have to change things like, okay, instead of this one, we're going to DDoS everybody. We're going to complain about all the women on the show, and we're going to play Rick Astley songs over and over again.
Did you just Rick Ross us without Rick Rossing us?
I did not Rick Ross you. That would go to Planet Boss, and there's only one boss in WWE. So I don't know how this Sasha Banks, Bruce Springsteen gimmick really works. Mm-hmm.
Okay, you might have I worded wrong, but did you Rickroll us?
Not really, but it is what an anonymous Raw general manager would do. So,
see, and New
would
Hampshire,
Vince McMahon know what a Rickroll is, though?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not far from Stamford, so holy shit, you're on payroll, aren't you?
No comment. Though I will say that for next week we do have some really good stuff. We're gonna have Elias sing a song about Robbie Lashley. We're gonna have Leo Rush talk about how Lashley looks like money, smells like money, is money, and we're gonna have Drake Maverick peeing on things.
Thank God the 3 weeks of podcasting I have not been asked or it's even been brought up of the ass is money. I thank God I have not had to talk about that. Like what even is? Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it now either. But
yeah, honestly, it would be a problem where they didn't mention that spot on this one because they already had the spot where the ass is money. That's what they made for the GM of the women.
Sir, Tony Storm is not on the main roster.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the very least, that'll eventually come. So, which is related to the other thing that happened this week, where on Sunday you had fans in the indie scene who were devastated that Arya Blake and a partner had said they had only gotten $40 for an offer to drive 11 hours for a show and were unhappy of it. Many indie performers said that is bullshit. Even if you're working for a hot dog and a handshake, you're building up your brand and going through, and you can't have living ranges on the indie scene. Most fans were unhappy that this happened and feel that their favorite indie performer needs a living wage. Then on Monday, WWE signed German star Walter, considered one of the best performers on the indie scene, and changed their NXT UK contracts so that now You can only work for certain promotions that work with the WWE. You can't work with anyone signed to a different contract. Any show that has you must have a paramedic. And fans were equally furious on how dare our favorites get paid a living wage with a perfectly respectable contract. They know they'll get paid on these ones. How dare they not be able to have these things? How dare I not be able to get the money I need on this one? I don't want that either.
Crying SK is the greatest SK ever.
Yes. Because that really is the problem on it, where you can't have it both ways, people. Either you want your favorites to have a living wage, but you've got to realize that WWE is the only place they're going to get it. Maybe New Japan, but that's about it. You're not going to see anyone who's not on national television getting a living wage. If they say they are, either they have a rich family or rich significant other, so they don't have to work, or they are lying to you. And even then, you have to realize that you gotta go with what you're going with, and accept that you want them to get paid well. They have to go to WWE. Like earlier this year, we had things like Chelsea Green saying, "I was only offered $75 by a promoter, and they weren't willing to negotiate with me." And that's the problem. Then later on, she went to WWE because WWE pays you well and will treat you with respect.
And that respect part might be.
No.
I know what you're saying, and I was trying to be kind of callous about it, but
yeah, being treated with respect doesn't mean you get to hold up the world title and the event of WrestleMania, pyro and confetti going on. Michael Cole.
Respect doesn't mean champion of the world.
Yeah.
Win every match. Like, that's not what.
Yeah, just as long as you're going to get paid a living wage and you can trust you'll get every penny of that. You're not going to have them say, "Oh yeah, we'll pay you $250 tonight. Oh, sorry, we didn't have a good crowd tonight. We have to pay you 10% of that." And, "Oh, we had a pretty good crowd, but not enough to pay everybody. We have to pay you 20% of that." And "Oh, we had a great crowd. Oh shit, someone stole the box office money."
That or hey, if you show up, we're going to give you this percentage of the box office. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, the box office didn't do that well, so.
Yeah. And that's really the difference, where it's not just about those. It's the fact that with WWE, it doesn't matter if you're only making $26,000 in NXT. What matters is if WWE promises you're making $26,000 in NXT, you will see every penny of that $26,000, and probably much, much more.
There's not to bring up age, but the 14th of next month is my Black Balloon birthday. Mm-hmm. Like that's guaranteed money. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm happy for the performers that are happy. Like, that's a guaranteed check. Mm-hmm. It's not like NFL guaranteed. Like, you can make, you see these outrageous NFL contracts. Like, $100 million. Only sometimes, like, say a quarter of that is guaranteed money, $25 million, which is huge money.
Mm-hmm. And even if you're questioning how much money they're making on it, remember, depending on what they are, it also helps on it. Like, for instance, yes, someone like Roman Reigns will make $2 million, and someone like, say, Charlotte Flair will make $400,000. But you can't compare the money Roman is making to Charlotte on that one. Compare Charlotte Flair is making $400,000, and the highest paid woman in the WNBA is making $100,000.
Like, exactly. Like, there's so many unfair comparisons
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to dilute it and or boil it down to it. As we're not talking like stars, like men, like just up and comers, somebody that is trying to be somebody in wrestling. Like, would you rather have a steady paycheck that is actually going to clear the bank, or would you rather travel hundreds of miles and then maybe the show itself gets canceled and you don't get paid shit kind of stuff? I'd rather take the guaranteed
Mm-hmm.
$26,000 annually, which is $500 or $500 a week. Right? No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. But even then, you also have some things where, even with the questions on the NXT UK deal, I think the more damning problem that's going to rear its ugly head is the fact that now, if you're in the NXT UK program, you can't work against someone who works for World of Sport. You can't work with someone who works for Lucha Underground, for Impact, for any other, for New Japan, for anyone else on that one. And this has been, yeah, basically, if you,
the first time, and I brought this up last night when I was talking to myself, when AA was trying to figure out Twitch, Will Ospreay comes to mind. You just limited a whole lot of Will Ospreay matches.
Yeah, and it's even worse on this one because let the record show that the UK scene is reaping what they sow a lot beforehand, because they were willing to accept Bram's domestic violence, abusive, worthless ass after he flamed out from NXT originally, and now suddenly every UK promotion who's not under the WWE banner is left with Bram as the only guy left to main event for him. So if you like Bram versus Will Ospreay, get ready, people. You're going to get loads of it.
And I'm all sorts of minds about this because, of course, I want to see certain matchups.
Yeah.
But at the same, like, there's like going to be three, of course. Of course, I see the business aspect of it, and one of the reasons was when they did the UK trial or workout thing. People showed up injured coming off of shows. Like, I get everything about it. I get why they're doing it.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's even past those ones where the bigger issue would actually be for WWE here, because
that's what I'm saying.
One of the big cores on this one is the fact that if you're working on indie show on this one and you're someone like some low-level guy in NXT UK, say a Ligero or something like that, you aren't going to be able to get the big-ticket indie guys on this one, even if a lot of the big stars in NXT UK are on exclusive deals. And suddenly that means that you're not going to be able to get the big matches that increase your stature so you can potentially get a bigger role on NXT UK with more of a name. Suddenly, you're left with, if you're a low carder in NXT UK, you'll probably be a low carder everywhere else in the UK after you leave. And that is a bigger risk for anything, because with someone like, say, Tamina on it, there's that image that, yes, she's the worst woman on the WWE roster, but if Tamina left and went to Shimmer, she'd destroy everybody else in Shimmer. And you're supposed
to have a name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
she has a WWE name attached to her.
Yeah. And that's a problem where if there's not that image that the very worst person in WWE would destroy the very best person in 90% of the indies, then WWE no longer seems like it matters.
Can we get over, because this, for like,
Sure
since
thing.
that news was announced, can we get over the fact of, like, there's guns being held to heads and they have to sign these contracts? They don't have to sign these contracts.
Mm-hmm.
They chose to sign these contracts.
Yeah. And that's
like it's not like slavery, or you have to do this. No, they don't. They chose to do this.
Yeah. And even if it's basically a case where you could argue the money was too hard to ignore, I'd like to say to anybody on this one, if you're offered a job that gives you a six-figure income and you're getting a chance to do this one, to work there, would you go and say, oh no, I'm loyal to Walmart and I'm going to stay at Walmart working for $11 an hour until everybody in the world sees that Walmart's an awesome place to work for? You're not going to do that. You're going to take the money and run. And every wrestler is perfectly right to say, okay, I'm taking the money.
And to a third degree on that, it's not just take the money and run. It's doing what I like to do and making better money at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not just like WCW days of, holy shit, they're giving me millions of dollars guaranteed, so I'm going to sign here. Like, no, it's the evil WWE syndrome,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
rearing its ugly head that people don't understand. How, like, nobody forced them to sign these contracts. Nobody's forcing them to. Okay, they get to do what they love, which I'll speak for all three of us, you, John, and myself. Like, if we could, we'd love to be in the ring wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'd also like to be making money doing it, mm-hmm. without the, $40 here or $75 here. Mm-hmm. Like, that's okay. Let me get this straight. You're gonna pay me money, like good money, and I don't have to, not travel, because everybody has to travel, but like, okay, say you pay me $75, but I spend $65 to get to the arena. So basically I make $10. So you're telling me I can make money, and I can do what I love to do, and I can be noticed. Mm-hmm. Where lies the problem in that?
Yeah. And that really is that one, because if you're making the money, yes, you're perfect. You want them to make money, but you can't have them not go for it. Anyone would take these decisions on it. And if you're making that much money to do what you want, that's really a good
thing. And all three of us know, at least I know, SK, you and I know, lack of better wording, like more indie wrestlers. I'm not sure about John, if he knows any of them personally, that do, like, they do travel, and they are making like very low wages, but they're doing what they love, and they do have their main job. They do wrestling on the side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's
but in a heartbeat, they would, like, okay, so I can do what I love, make more money than I was at my, my job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't get this last few days on Twitter and Facebook and stuff of how everybody's getting screwed over. WWE's the devil stuff again.
That's just the way of it, where they just think WWE is the devil, and they're signing everybody from the poor indie scene that just want to give good wrestling, not like the stars of New Japan.
Well, let's not worry about these same wrestlers that were living
and them are all Taiji Ishimori, Shingo Takagi, Kota Ibushi. They were all honorable. They jumped to New Japan because they wanted to wrestle. And that's part of it as well, because everybody's going to do it. It's just part of the thing. If you have talent on a lower level, eventually the bigger names are going to take notice and pluck them away. It's the circle of life. And then new stars take over for them. Just look at the modern era on this one. In 2014, people were devastated that Kevin Steen and Fergal Devitt and Kenta all signed with WWE. If you told them in 2018 that there's top of the indie scene would feature guys like Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Tony Storm, British Strong Style, and all those people, they would have said, I never heard of those losers. See, the indie scene's going to suck in 4 years because we lost Steen and Devitt and Kenta.
And that's, you get it. You get it. And this is, I've told you before, this is why I appreciate you so much, because it is kind of like a farm system. Like the good rise to the top, and there will be that payday if you're good enough. Like, not everybody's gonna make it.
Yeah,
but you're gonna get the Kevin Steens that become the Kevin Owens. You're gonna get the El Genericos that become the Sami Zayns. You're gonna get.
Oh, be fair.
But
El
then
Generico and Sami Zayn are not the same guys. So.
You hush your mouth. But then there's people after them that come up, and then they get money. Like, it's, and some people fail to realize of. And this is where I get so kind of frustrated of other people not seeing of how the indie scene is perfectly fine. The people coming from the indie scene to the bigger promotions and signing exclusive contracts. It's perfectly fine, because you're making more room for the other people coming up.
Yeah. And it's like, just look at the names on this one. Say from the January signings, you had Ricochet, the War Raiders, all signed in one thing. Okay, you just opened up 3 spots in New Japan and on the worldwide indie stage. 3 new people have to take those worldwide spots. So now you've got 3 people from the national scene that are gone, plus the 3 people for Ricochet and War Raiders. So now 6 people have to go to the top of the national one. And then 6 people plus the 6 people to fix those ones have to go up to being top stars regionally, and top stars in those promotions, and so on and so forth, to the point where you've got over 100 spots open up at the bottom of the level for new people, just because the WWE hired Ricochet and War Raiders.
I'm gonna do SK impression, and forgive me if I don't do it right, but I have to do it. I've done it before. I don't do you quite as well as I want to, but
that's what most people say.
You jackass. Oh my God, WWE has all the talent. What should we ever do? Oh, well, I like this guy. Oh, he's pretty cool too. Oh, he's good. Oh, but then they're gonna come to WWE, and then what? Oh, well, I like this. Oh, he's pretty. Hey, I like him. But WWE, and well, whatever should we do? Do you not see how things revolve, like, and evolve? And I know you do, but that's how people see it.
Yeah, it's not even just a farm system, and these ones where
it's
the top of the
far beyond that.
The way to explain it is like, if you're a hunter and for hunting on these ones, it's controversial, but for hunting, there is usually a purpose. Sometimes in order to make sure that the herd grows and can survive the winter, you need to cull the herd a little bit. And so...
Have you seen the tweets of Keith Lee's already ruined because he lost to Lars yesterday? Have you already seen those tweets?
No, I haven't, but I completely buy that they would do these things.
Yes.
And that's really the problem, because Keith Lee needs a little bit of room to grow. I mean, yes, Keith Lee is very good, but he's a big dude who says, "Bask in my glory." That's basic, and "bask in my glory" is Keith Lee speak for Adam Cole, baby!
Yes, it's the same. It's a catchphrase. It's Ty Dillinger doing the 10, 10, 10. Mm-hmm. Like but some, and I'll go out there. I don't care. Again, Fireman6809, shoot me all your hate tweets. I don't care. I got, for the first time I ever got called a troll like 3 days ago for whatever reason, and I wasn't even trolling, just talking. And anyway, like that, there's this disconnect of what's good for the wrestler and what's good for wrestling, and WWE's the devil. Can't believe they're doing this.
Yeah, and even then, sometimes the indie guys on it who do come in don't get over immediately for it. Like a lot of things earlier had said that Matt Riddle wasn't very popular for his early matches because they didn't get it. But even then, even if he has a catchphrase, people know that with him you go from bro to bro to bro to bro, and finally, but within a few years, a full-on bromo.
It's quickly transitioned from the bro to motherfucking Matt Riddle.
Yeah. Bro. Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for you to add the MF and Matt Riddle, bro.
Yeah.
The bro part.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like, and you have to agree, because I've known it for a while, but in the last year or so, fickle wrestling fans are so fickle. Like, they want everything, and when they don't get one little thing, like, nothing else matters.
Yeah. And that's really the problem on this one, which is going on right now, because it's not just that these fans want every little thing. It's that they want every little thing at the same time. And
well, yeah,
if it's basically when it's, I want this person and this person and this person to be the champion, it's like they can't all be the champion at the same time.
Right. And they somehow have convinced themselves that it could happen, but I don't. I've kind of tuned out, like, month, maybe more than a year ago.
Yeah.
Like, try to tune out that kind of rhetoric of,
yeah,
well, I want this and this and this and this, and I want it now. And how the hell is, Naomi and Becky going to be SmackDown Women's Champion at the same time?
Yeah.
But you want it now, right? Like, let's.
Yeah, and that's really
the problem. Like a JG Wentworth commercial. It's my money, and I want it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really the problem, where even if they get used on it, if they're not used completely, it goes. Like, people saying that Kevin Owens was misused on it. It's like, the dude held the title for 50% of his main roster time. That's not being misused at all. If anything, they're overusing that dude.
Didn't he beat John Cena in like one of his first WWE matches also?
He beat John Cena in his first ever WWE match pay-per-view.
Yeah, the point is, this is not a guy who's being misused. This is not an underutilized performer.
But now everybody wants to talk about, his reign sucked, or he was only carried by Jericho, and
yeah, and if you were only carried by Jericho and your reign sucked, maybe, just maybe, this might be a controversial one. I think this might be a hot take, but maybe, hear me out here, he wasn't as good as you think he was.
Blasphemy!
Damn, John.
And that really ties to some of the things with the people who flamed out of NXT. Like, yeah, you have things like, you can always say things like, but they didn't know what they had with Eli Drake, or, but Sami Callihan could have been so good on these ones, or things like that. But maybe it goes down to, hear me out, maybe we were wrong about him and he wasn't that good.
Yeah, and even if he was quote unquote that good, he might not have been a good fit. You know, like he might not have really resonated with the rest of the roster, you know?
Yeah, because that's a good example with Sami Callihan.
I was going to say, like, Sami's the perfect example of that.
Yeah, he's very good in the ring, but that guy is not a good fit for the WWE. And it's not like, oh, but the hacker gimmick would have done well. No, the hacker gimmick sucked. There's not much you can do on that stuff.
And in defense, that was more so the gimmick they gave him than the in-ring ability. Like, that was just...
No, his matches in NXT were pretty dire compared to this one. Like,
well, they were, but he had so much more potential. They just weren't.
Yeah. There's a world of difference between badass dude who hangs out with the two guys who hang out at the Hot Topic in Dayton, Ohio, versus, for these ones, and dude in his grandmother's swimsuit who does his swan dive off the rope. Two entirely different things.
And I kind of have to blame the NXT thing on the vignettes coming into his debut. Like, this looks interesting. This could be cool. Okay.
Yeah, and that's really the surprising thing, because it ties into why I'm not convinced about Aleister Black and wasn't convinced with Ember Moon in NXT, because there seems to be some viewpoints that went through with, well, Paige was a big star for us, so all we have to do is to have a bunch of mysterious, vaguely gothic people and build the show around them, and everyone will love it. And it's like, no, that's not really the thing. You can have a few of them, but not everybody.
Oh, can I do a hot take real quick?
Sure. This is the
Paige was not a big thing in NXT. She was not. She was not even close to being a big thing. She was anti-diva. She was not a big thing in NXT. Her call up to the main roster and beating AJ Lee for the women's championship, she became a big thing. She was not a big thing in NXT.
That's a viable hot take. I will give it about a level of kind of hot. So
she wasn't. In my opinion, she didn't get the notoriety. And this was, like, you have to watch NXT on WWE.com. She wasn't. She was anti-diva. Like, she was likable, but her name came to fame when she, debuted after WrestleMania, the Monday after WrestleMania, and beat AJ Lee but it's been so misconstrued of how great she was in NXT. She wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Well, in defense, that's kind of a chicken or the egg thing as well, because maybe she was better when she debuted at the night after WrestleMania and beat AJ Lee clean in her first match for it. But at the same time, do you really think they would say, okay, you're beating AJ Lee in your first match to win the title after AJ Lee just beat everyone else in the division on your first night on the show, if she wasn't kind of a big deal on NXT?
Well, and I get that, and I may have worded wrong. Like, she was a big deal.
Yeah,
but she wasn't
as big as everybody thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, let me, like, it's kind of revisionist history to go back and, oh, she was like this huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, she was the first ever NXT Women's Champion. And yes, she was good. She has always been good until, she could no longer perform in ring. But she wasn't putting on classic matches in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it's how I saw it then. This is 2012, 2013 before the network was out. And you had to watch NXT on .com.
Yeah. And really, that's the bigger thing, is that it's kind of a dated thing where in 2013, it seemed like Paige versus Emma was going to be the greatest match for women that WWE ever put on. And then with the Four Horsemen overtaking that one, it said, no, you have no idea.
And we got Dancer Emma out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was also a case where that was the first example of maybe the fans don't know what they're talking about. It's when they say we need this angle, because everybody said with Emma being big in NXT, you've got to call her up. You've got to have her feud with Fandango over who's the better dancer. This is the best angle possible. It'll make her a star. And then when she had a pretty good comedy match with Santino, they said, okay, make her Santino's girlfriend. That's a good act. They'll make her a star. And
she came up as Santino's fan.
Yeah, she got called up. She came in as Santino's fan / girlfriend, and they feuded with Fandango over who the better dancer was, and it bombed.
Hardcore bombed. Like, I mean, just I can't whistle, but if I could, like, it would be a bomb dropping from the sky, like, shh.
Yeah.
Holy shit, did that not go well?
Yeah, and that ties to the same thing that was the problem with Daniel Bryan having to turn heel. For 2 years, everybody said, you got to have Daniel Bryan get revenge on The Miz for that Talking Smack promo. You've got to do it. This will make them both stars. And so they had Daniel Bryan feud with The Miz. And it bombed so badly. Within 8 months, Daniel Bryan went from unimpeachable babyface to you got to turn the guy heel because he has nothing left.
Well, he's a vegan, so he's already heels.
Oh, again, as we've proven, he is not a vegan anymore. He eats brie all the time. Thank you very much.
I was hoping you were going to be
all joking aside, I think he did at one point. I believe he did at one point cease to be vegan.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately.
Yeah, he found out he was allergic to soybeans, so he had to, so.
That's pretty rough.
How's that pretty rough? Like, oh, I can't eat this shit. That's pretty rough.
I don't know. You kind of get accustomed to it.
Yeah. So, which also helps proof, because even if it seems like that, Daniel Bryan is 100% not a soy boy cuck, so you don't have to use that against him.
When going through school, this is probably 4th grade, 5th grade, which would make it 85, $4.85. Friday they would do soybean burgers. Oh no! Looking back, like how the hell did I eat that? But it was Burger Friday. Oh, they were so good.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, it's possible if you don't know, like if you don't really know it, you probably wouldn't know it. Like I've actually seen some, there are companies that make like vegan burgers that actually do look and feel and even they're even juicy like regular beef burgers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's pretty common on most of them. So it is possible to make a very delectable one.
Yeah,
if you're just like excluding any kind of like meat, soybean, I highly recommend portobello mushroom as your meat in a burger.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you
that's
marinate that in some balsamic vinegar on stuff and grill that, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
see,
and
this guy gets me.
if you've ever gone to like if you have a Shake Shack in your area, that's actually one of their offerings is they do like a portobello mushroom. Though if you're listening and you're vegan, I think they do have cheese in it, so that might not be for you. So that's kind of unfortunate, you know, if you're vegan, you know.
Well, it's also unfortunate if you don't have a Shake Shack in your area. So
well, that's kind of a given.
Yeah, I was gonna. You took the words out of my mouth, but I don't have a Shake Shack, but I've been to a Shake Shack and pretty good food.
Yeah, I think the closest one is Boston, but I think I heard they're building one in Providence. So
it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You live in Rhode Island, so like every like thing is, you can be in 3 states in 30 minutes or 4 states.
Yeah, but of course, there's some things that we just don't have, and we just keep going for them. So everybody has it and has that stuff for it. So if I don't have these ones, it's no biggie, but it just goes to the whole problems for them, where you just end up with perfectly normal things based on your area.
Yep.
A new double quarter-pound king from Burger King. Made with over a half an ounce of grilled 100% beef, 4 slices of cheese, pickles, and freshly chopped onions. The new double quarter-pound king.
Who the hell?
Collection only at Burger King.
Mm-hmm.
Which one are you?
I'm the one who handles these ones. Remember, John doesn't know about your problems with Burger King, so.
Sir, you are an asshole.
Yes.
I can't stand you. We are no longer friends. Your Christmas present, it will not be reciprocated.
Yeah. Well, it just went through. And worst comes to worst, I can just have a Whopper in exchange, so.
Sir, I mean, there's lines and there's laughing and giggling and then there's playing Burger King commercials.
Yes.
For those that know, Burger King's my favorite. The closest Burger King to me is an hour, 20 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get it often, and I cannot believe you did that to me.
Well, it's just that's one of the problems when it's this late on it. You have to add more things, so.
It's pretty far out of my way too. And there is one that I know of in DC that's close to a metro station, but it's a bit of a ways.
Yeah.
And there also used to be like a one right down the road from my apartment, so
yeah.
there's plenty of other good stuff on that street though anyway, so
Yeah, but that's always the problem, where it's not when you have one of your favorites that's far out, because sometimes you can make the trek and go for it. It's when it's one of your least favorite that's so close to you that's the problem. Spoken with something with a Wendy's very close to my work, so.
Are you underselling Wendy's chicken nuggets?
Basically as a fast food restaurant, they make better sense as a sassy waifu who's always snarky on Twitter.
Damn! Holy shit! We went there.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of their niche now.
Yeah. Pretty much they've decided to give up on the actual fast food and focus on the Rule 34 market, so.
I'm sending you or Morse is going to send you an iconic shirt for Christmas, so
okay.
Enjoy that.
Yeah, maybe I should lower the get offline because we're just going off the rails, so.